in New York City, on a section of Broadway known as the Canyon of Heroes. People from all over New York come here to celebrate the women's national soccer team's championship World Cup victory with an old-fashioned New York City ticker tape parade. But we're here today to do some carpool chemistry. Today, we're going to learn about quantum numbers. Each electron in an atom has a set of 4 quantum numbers. The first quantum number tells information about its energy level. The second quantum number tells information about its sublevel. The third quantum number tells information about its exact orbital. And the fourth quantum number tells about its electron spin. Let's take a closer look at an atom of chlorine, which has 17 protons, 17 electrons. In an earlier edition of Carpool Chemistry, we outlined the planet diagram for chlorine just to show the relationship between energy levels, sublevels, and orbitals. And here's our s orbital over here. And we had 17 electrons. This time we're going to number them. Our first electron went in the first energy level, S sublevel. Our second electron went in the first energy level, S sublevel also. The third one went in the second energy level, S sublevel. Fourth one is second energy level, S sublevel. The fifth, sixth, and the seventh went in the P's, as did the 8th, 9th, and 10th. The 11th and 12th went up to the third energy level, S sublevel, and the 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17 went into the P sublevel of the third energy level. Well, each of those electrons has a set of 4 quantum numbers. Let's take a look at our chart over here. And our first electron, when we ask, well, what is the first quantum number for our first electron? The first quantum number gives the main energy level. It's labeled as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Well, if we take a look at our first electron that we placed, what main energy level is it in? It's in the first energy level. Therefore, it has a quantum number of 1. The second electron is also in the first energy level, so it also has a first quantum number of 1. The third electron, however, is in the second energy level, so it's got a first quantum number of 2. And the fourth electron, also 2, as is the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. The 11th electron that we placed here in chlorine, however, is in the third energy level, and so it has a first quantum number of 3. The 12th is 3. The 13th is also 3, as is the 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th. And that takes care of our first quantum number. The second quantum number tells you the sublevel that's in. If it's in an S sublevel, the second quantum number is a 0. If it's in a P sublevel, the second quantum number is a 1. D, 2, and F is 3. This is kind of like a secret decoder here. So let's take a look at our first electron. What sublevel is it in? It's in the S sublevel. Therefore, it's going to have a second quantum number of 0. So we write that down right over here. Our second electron is also in an S sublevel. That's 0. As is the third and the fourth. But the fifth electron is in a P sublevel, so it has a second quantum number of 1. As does the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th. Moving on to the 11th electron, it's got a it's in the S sublevel, so therefore it's going to be back to the 0. The 12th is also in an S sublevel, so it's also 0. The The 13th, however, is in a p sublevel, so its second quantum number is going to be 1, as is the 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th. That takes care of the second quantum number. Let's take a look at the third quantum number. The third quantum number tells the exact orbital that the electron is in. If it's an s orbital, it's labeled as 0. So we call this the 0 orbital. If it's an s sublevel, we call this orbital 0. And this is also in an s sublevel, it's also 0. However, if it's in a p sublevel, notice how we have 3 different choices of orbitals in the p sublevel. If it's in the p sublevel, it could be labeled as +1, 0, or -1. So we're going to call this the +1 orbital, the 0 orbital, and the -1 orbital. And then over here with the 11th and 12th, we're back to an s, so that's going to be the 0 orbital. And then with the 13th through 17th, we have once again p sublevel, so +1, 0, and -1. Let's take a look at our chart now. For the third quantum number, our first electron is in the 0 orbital, as is the second, 0 orbital. The third electron is also in a 0 orbital, as is the fourth, 0. However, the fifth electron right over here is in the +1 orbital, so we put a +1. The 6th is in a 0 orbital, and the 7th is in the -1 orbital. Then you double back with electron number 8 as a +1. Number 9 is in the 0, and number 10, -1. Then you go to electron number 11. It's in an s sublevel, so it's going to be 0. Put a 0 here. Number 12 is also in the 0, because it's an s sublevel. But 13, we're looking at a +1. And 14 is 0. 15, -1. 16 goes back to the +1. 17 goes to the 0. And that takes care of our third quantum number for each of the electrons. Let's go on to the fourth quantum number. The fourth quantum number indicates a clockwise or counterclockwise electron spin. It's labeled as +1/2 or -1/2. So on our diagram over here, our first electron would be a +1/2. Our second electron would be -1/2. Third electron, +1/2 spin. Fourth electron, -1/2. Fifth is +1/2. Sixth is also a +1/2. Seventh is also a +1/2. And then we double back with number 8 as a -1/2. Number 9, -1/2. And number 10, -1/2. Electron number 11 is a +1/2. Number 12, -1/2. Number 13, +1/2. 14, +1/2. 15, +1/2. And then we double back with electron number 16 at -1/2, as is number 17, -1/2. So if we put this in our chart over here, as we saw, our first electron, +1/2. Second electron, -1/2. Third electron, +1/2. Number 4, -1/2. Number 5 over here, we have plus, and 6 is plus, and 7 is +1/2. So +1/2, +1/2, +1/2. And then we double back with -1/2, -1/2, -1/2 for 8, 9, and 10. Here's 8, 9, and 10, -1/2, -1/2, -1/2. Number 11, we're looking at plus 1/2. And then number 12, minus 1/2. Number 13, we're looking at plus 1/2, 14 plus 1/2, 15 plus 1/2. So plus 1/2, plus 1/2, plus 1/2. And then we double back with minus 1/2 and minus 1/2 for 16 and 17. Minus 1/2 and minus 1/2. And that's how you make a chart that displays the quantum numbers for the electrons in chlorine. From the Canyon of Heroes in New York City, this is Carpool Chemistry. Thanks for watching.